So you got yourself a rucRak Grunt, and we're going to spend the next hour putting this thing together. Now, I don't do PDF or written instructions anymore, and I'm going to tell you why. People don't read. They don't read, and then they call me, and they can't figure it out. So I'm going to hold your hand through this entire process, and we're going to get this done, just me and you. Okay, so step one, we've opened our box, and you're going to find 2 hardware bags inside your box here, okay? And we're going to need that one here in a minute. We're going to put that to the side, and this is where most of the hardware is. And what I want you to do is I want you to take and dump all of this out on the table so you don't know which part number it is. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Yes, people have done that, but don't do that. What I want you to do is pull them out and put them in order by part number, and that way you'll be able to reference them really quick and find them really quick so that you can put your hands on them really quick. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to gather some tools up and some things we're going to need. You're going to need a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. You're going to need a 1/2-inch wrench and 2 9/16 wrenches. You're also going to need a hitch pin. Now, a lot of people ask me, why don't I include a hitch pin? If you got a hitch, why don't you have a hitch pin? If I sell you a hitch, I have to add it to the cost, trying to keep your costs down. They're $3 at Walmart. Go get you a hitch pin. And in your pack, you're going to see that there are some hex keys in here. There's a 3/16 hex key, and there's a 7/32 hex key. And you can use those, but I use these hex drive sockets. It makes it a lot faster. If you have these in your toolbox, use these 3/16 and 7/32. And that's pretty much all you're going to need to put this together. If you have a little level or big level, that will come in handy to make it level, and I'll show you that here in a moment, but that's pretty much all you need to put this together. Okay, so now we're going to put on our mounting lug nut extensions, and this is what the rucRak will actually mount to on your spare here. And so you're going to take out your lug nuts one at a time, and then you're going to find in your kit these lug nuts. Now, if you've watched my Will It Fit videos, there are some things that you should have already done before your purchase to make sure that this fits. And if you have a really deep offset wheel, how to make that fit. But the way I do that is, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do here to make that. If you did not watch that video, you might be in trouble here, but you're probably all right. So you're going to replace your lug nuts one at a time, and you're going to screw these on, and then I've provided you with this tool here, and this is where your 1/2-inch drive ratchet comes in. And no, do not use impact wrench for this. You do not need them that tight. They will not. How you gonna get it off if you put an impact wrench on them? If you bust a tire on the trailer, you need to get this off. So now you see I have installed all 3 lug nut extensions. Okay, and then we're gonna go to step 2. Then I want you to go find this mounting plate. Okay, this mounting plate has holes in it for mounting on a Bronco or a JL Jeep or a JK Jeep or a TJ or YJ also, but we'll cover that later. So what you want to do is orient your plate on here and make sure you know which is up and which is down, because sometimes if you have an aftermarket tire carrier, this triangle here will be flipped over. I've even seen them clocked, and if it's clocked to the side, you're in real trouble because this is not going to work for you. But orient your plate and find out where up and down is. Okay, so we know that that's the way it's going to go on. All right. Now you see that I have put this all the way up against that tire, and I have enough room to put a lug on a bolt. I mean a nut on there right now. Right. I got enough room here. Okay. You see that? If you've put this all the way against the tire and you still can't touch that, then you need these. And these are the lug nut extensions, and that'll give you another 1.75 inches outwards to capture this. But as I said, I provided you that on the product description, and hopefully you made those measurements before you got to this point. If you didn't, you're going to need to go get the extended lug nuts off the website, and they're on the Grunt Specialty Items section of the website. Okay, but now we know which way this goes. Now that we've figured out where our orientation is, take this plate off, and there were 2 nuts that were on these per bolt, per extension, and I want you to put one of them on because it's going to serve as a backing nut to this plate here. So go down and screw it down pretty far, and then we'll recheck it, make sure, there we go. And so now we know this side is up, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, now in your box, you're going to find the T-bar. So we're going to go to this bag, and we're going to get out our hitch stabilizer. And we'll show you how that works here in just a second. Basically a U-bolt with a plate on it, with a little lip on it. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that U-bolt through there, drop it in, and then we're going to put flat washer, nut. Flat washer, lock washer, nut. And then we're going to put it on with the lip facing the top of the T. Okay, we're going to do that. And then if you'll follow me over here to the hitch, I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. Okay, so you see this is slotted, all right? And I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. We're going to put that in and put our hitch pin in. And it is slotted, so you can adjust this in and out almost infinitely. And if you can't get this out past the tire, then you're going to need some pedestal mount extensions, and I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. But we're going to put that in just loose for now, just past the tire. Those legs are going to sit down, and the feet are going to sit down on top of it here in just a moment. But we're going to put that in and just let it sit for just a second. Okay, this is important. This next 15 minutes of video is extremely important. Watch here, okay? If you don't watch, and if you don't watch every second of it, you're going to screw this up, and then you're going to call me, and then I'm going to politely walk you through it, and then me and my wife are going to talk about you after you get off the phone. All right. So go and find the long, what we call the vertical legs, and we're going to get those out. Okay. And we're going to put them under there just like that. Eventually, this is going to get mounted to this, but depending on your application, it's going to go to the back side or the front side. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to determine that here in just a second, if you'll just come with me. So what we want to do is that we want to, there goes my knife. We want to orient this plate on here we want to orient that plate on there like that. And if you have plenty of room to put this on the back side and still get your lug nuts in there, that's what I want you to do. Okay, if not, we know we're going to have to put it to the back side because your offset is a little more than stock. Most stock vehicles, you're going to mount it to the front like this. Okay, so now that we know we need it on the back, let's go over here and find out how it's going to mount. All right, on the bottom of these legs here, you're going to see an insert here with a threaded hole in it. And we're going to go by and get part number 106, which is the feet. Okay, and we're going to run that nut all the way to the bottom, and then we're going to screw these feet in here all the way to the top. Boom. Okay. Now grab your one of these legs and your plate again, and come over here. We're going to put that on, and we're going to pick one of these, the two holes that these inserts are going to go in. So if you were mounting it to the front like it's on this Bronco right here, as you can see, this plate is mounted to the front side because it has a stock wheel on it. But on this Jeep over here, or if you have a Bronco with an offset, we're going to mount it to the back side. So in order to determine which hole we're going to put this in, you want to get this foot as close to this bar as possible. So what you're going to do is kind of eyeball it, and you're going to see that nutsert in there, and you're going to lift up until you see the hole that it's going to line up with. And it's going to line up with the second hole right here, if you see that. So I lifted it up until it kind of lined up with that hole. So now we know what the second hole is. Now we know what hole we're going to line it up with. So we're going to line it up with this one and this one. Okay? And results may vary. So we know which holes we're going to line it up with now. Okay? So let's go back to the bench. So we decided we're going to line it up with the second hole here. Okay? The top is going to go in the second hole. And if you were doing this on the front side, like on a stock wheel, you just lay it down and line those up on your second hole there, so you can see there. But since we're doing on the back, we'll just flip the plate over, and we'll do it like that, and then we'll line our holes up, and then we're going to go find part number 203. Okay, and that's the 5/16 by 1 inch. And then you're going to go find your 3/16, oh, I'm sorry, 7/32 Allen key. And we're going to put that in that second hole there. And then we're going to come down there. We know where the next one goes because the nutsert's right behind the hole there. So we're going to just put that in loose. And we're going to make sure that we're hitting those same 2 holes over here. Because if we put it in the third hole over here, it's going to be cattywampus. And like I said, you can use your 7/36 Allen key, but I'm going to use my Hitch drive ratchet here. And here's what you want to do before you tighten this up. This lip right here has to be plumb. You want it flush with the leg. Because if you don't make it flush, then it's not going to sit right. So before you tighten it down, make it flush with that leg. And then you can tighten it up pretty good. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay? So now that we've got our H-frame assembled here, we can attach our flagpole. Now, if you've mounted your mounting plate to the backside like we have here, that flagpole is going to sit right here in this pocket. And so you're going to want to mount it to the actual front or what's facing you. If you've mounted it to the front side, if you've mounted this mounting plate to the front side, you're just going to put the flagpole on the other side because it's designed to live in this pocket with this pipe here. Okay? So we're going to get 216 and 205, part number 216 and 205 out. And we're going to put these through here. Now the tolerances sometimes get a little tight here with the powder coat, so you may end up having to actually screw these in because they're really tight here. But you can do it, I promise. And then, so I always mount my flagpole on the passenger side because that's how the American flag is supposed to be if you're doing an American flag. It's up to you. You can order another one of these and put them over here, and you can actually put them in the basket, which I'll show you later. But then you want to take part number 205, which is the nut. And that takes a 1/2 inch wrench on this side and the 7/32 hex on this. Now, it is important. This is aluminum. Do not crank down on this. You'll bend it. It just needs to be good and snug. Now, a lot of you keep asking me, why isn't there a through hole through this flagpole holder? The reason I don't do that is because this thing drops in here 9 inches. I've been going down about 70 miles an hour with a flag, a 3x5 flag or a 6x9 flag, either one. And there's enough in here to create friction, enough friction that flag will not pull out. So that's just an extra cost for you. That's And so I decided against that and just drop it in there and go. It's all right. I promise. All right. Now we can go over here and hang this on. Just going to hang it on there like that. And you're going to have the 3 nuts that you have left over from your studs. I'm just going to put those on kind of light. Okay? Don't want to tighten them down just yet. Because first, we're going to adjust this T-bar, and then we're going to adjust the frame according to the T-bar. Okay? Okay, now we're back on the ground here. We put our T-bar in, and it's surprisingly level right here where we're at. So then you want to tighten these bolts up on this hitch stabilizer. Push it all the way back to the hitch. I'm going to tighten these bolts up, and we're going to tighten them up around at a time, or 2 rounds at a time on each side, because you want this thing to pull up evenly. If you tighten one side, it's not going to do that. 1, 2, 1, and I'm just keeping an eye on my level here to make sure that I'm still good. Now, if you don't have a level, you can eyeball this, but it's kind of better to have a level. And see how that thing is picking up now? The whole thing should pick up maybe half an inch, 3/8 of an inch or so. And He-Men, this is where you shine. You can tighten the crap out of this. You meatheads out here, you can tighten the crap out of this pretty good. And now, what that has done is it's gotten rid of the rattle, and it's preventing this from moving back and forth now. And that's why I kind of want you to tighten it up really good. And now you're going to have two 9/16. And here's what I want you to do. So what I do is I put my level up here, and I get it, and I screw these down until, they're pretty decently tight. Okay? And that's level right there. So I want to get those both touching. And you want this tight enough to where there's actually a little bit of resistance on your tailgate when you open it. You want to feel a little bit of resistance there, and that's actually perfect. Because what this is doing is, if you have an oversized tire or a heavier wheel or a bigger wheel or something, this is actually holding this tire, this rack, and everything that's going to be on it, and pushing it up when you close in your tailgate, and it's taking the stresses off that tire carrier as you're going down the road. So you want to tighten them down pretty tight here so that there's a little bit of resistance in the tailgate. And then you're going to take this locking nut, and you're going to tighten the absolute piss out of this. Because if you don't, they will unscrew and they will fall out. And then you'll be calling me going, well, how do I get a new one? They're on the website. But you want to tighten the crap out of this. Okay? And same thing here on the other side. Now, the way this is designed is that you see how that when it fell off of there, it came out at a little angle. So when the next time you close it, it will go up at an angle, and it will sit right on there. But if you open that gate and it does that, it's going to knock that foot off, and there again, you're going to be calling me wanting a foot, and they're on the website. So as you're closing it, you kind of want them to fall off just like that, just like they did. See? Okay. Now, once we've gotten all of that set, all right, we can take our backing nuts and put our finger behind here and pull them all the way up. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to push this plate back just a little bit. You see how that flexes just a little bit? And then pull that backing nut up right to where it is. Put a little pressure on it, and then spin that backing nut to the back side of that plate. Okay? And then you can take your tool and tighten these down. All right, and then the last thing we're going to do is going to check it one last time. And there we go. That's perfect. Okay? So now, I want you to get out what we call the hinge plate, and you're going to find 2 hinge plate gussets in there. And then you're going to also find 2 what we call vertical or short pipes. Okay? And here's what we're going to do. We're going to get out part number 217. And then we're going to get out, we have the 205s, we've already used some of those already. The 207 flat washers and 206, and this is the nylon washers. So here's how we're going to do this. And if you skip this step and you do not follow these instructions exactly, this will not work. So we're going to take part number 217. We're going to put it right here in this hole right here. We'll put a flat washer on it first. Fun fact, flat washers are side concentric. So you'll see this side's a little shiny and this side's a little dull. Well, that's the dull side is what you want against the metal because it has a teeny tiny lip on it that grabs to the surface that you're mating it to. So shiny side towards the bolt, like that. We're going to put that through here. And then we're going to take part number 206. I'm going to stick that on the inside right there. On both of those. And then you see these 2 that are close together here. That goes right here. Okay? And then we're going to put another part number 206, the nylon washer out here. And then we're going to put this gusset on. Okay? And then we're going to put another flat washer on, part number 207. Okay? And then 205 right here. We'll tighten them up. And then just get your hex key out or your socket hex. And this is going to be a 1/2 inch. And we're going to make that really good and snug. It doesn't have to be 10,000 pounds of foot-pounds, but we're gonna want it pretty good and snug. Okay? And we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So in your kit, you're gonna find a nice pretty decal kit, which will give you your indicators as to what position you're in, your position indicators. So we're going to do bikes first. So we're going to just get that off of there. Sometimes you have to hold your mouse just right. And we're going to lay out our triangles that were in the kit here, just like this. And you're going to put the little bike dude facing away. Okay? And then the other bike dude faces the other way. Okay? And then your gear indicator, and I'm going to show you why this is important here in a little bit. Your gear indicator is going to go upside down. Like that. And you can get it straighter than I can probably, but that's crooked, but we all get the point, right? We're going to put this one on over here, upside down. Okay? And then you're going to have your little home button here. And it's going to point, this way, towards the bike. Okay? Just like that. Okay? And these are going to go just like this. We're going to slide them around here. We're going to go find part number 201. Another 207, which is the flat washer. I'm going to put those on. And then the last two nylon washers, part number 206, we're going to get those out. And then we're also going to need part number 211 and 212. So this is the 1/4 inch pin, and 212 is the lanyard. And I'm going to just thread that on there, just like a keychain. Oh, I took it off. Okay. And then we're going to loop this around in between the head of the bolt and that washer. Okay. And then we're going to put it through this second hole right here on your triangle here. And then we're going to put this nylon washer on, and then we're going to put it through this middle hole right here. Okay? Now, let's loop that back through. Now, then you're going to want to stick this in this all the way through. And what's happened here is this cap here is extruding down into that hole, so we may need to adjust that cap so that we can push this all the way through, just like that. Okay? And then kind of hold your finger up there like that and keep some pressure on it. And put your 207 flat washer on there. And then your 205. And this is going to take a little dexterity here, but you can use your hex key and your 1/2" wrench, and you want to keep this up and keep some pressure on that lanyard, and go ahead and tighten this whole operation down. Now you don't have to get it really tight. All you want is those threads to come through the nylon on that lock washer, okay? Because this is going to be, you're going to want to be able to rotate this, and this is what does the flip from the gear position to the bike position, and the flip from to put it in the stowed away position, home position. So you want to get it good and tight, but you don't want to over tighten it where you can't, it won't move, and we'll be able to tell here in just a moment. But all right, and then we're going to do that exact same operation over here on the other side. Okay, so now that we've got our hinge together, we're going to mount it to the frame here, and we're going after that hole right here. Okay, this bottom hole. All right, and on both sides. So we're going to get out the last two, part number 217, and we're going to put the flat washers on there, and we're just going to feed this through the hole here, and you hold your tongue like Michael Jordan, it goes right through. Okay, and then your flat washers, and then the part number 205, which are the lock nuts. We're going to tighten this, but we're not going to tighten the piss out of it. We're going to tighten it just enough to get that bolt through the lock washer, because this has got to pivot. So you got to give this a little tolerance to pivot. So all you want to do is get this enough through the lock washer that it's not going to back out. See? All right. Cool. So now we're going to put our cover plate on, and this does a couple of things. This will give this plate a lot more rigidity, and if you have a camera sticking through, this will protect your camera. So we're going to get out part number 203, and we're going to go for those holes right here and put them in those nut certs right there. And again, you can use your hex key, but I'm going to use my socket. And yeah, you can crank down on these pretty good. You don't want to strip that nutsert out, but however, you do want to give this whole plate some rigidity here. Okay, now it's on. Okay, so now we're going to get to the table here. Now, we're going to pull this out. So you'll see that this is stenciled. My manufacturer screwed up. They put it on the wrong side. This is actually the front, okay? But I'm going to give you a nice decal to put up there, and we're going to get to that here in just a moment. So is this thing still on? Yes, it is. Awesome. So here's where we have a decision to make, all right? You're going to get in your kit 2 sets of table legs. If you have mounted your plate to the back of the uprights like this, you're going to want to use the table legs marked PB right and left. if you have mounted your mounting plate to the front side of the upright like this, you're going to want to use the table legs PF, plate front, right and left. Okay? So, quick quiz. Which table legs do we want to use on this one? Plate back, PB. Yay! All right, so we have leg PB right, leg PB left. And these, well, we want to keep those because we might upgrade and might have to change it around. So put those in the junk drawer. All right, so how these are going to mount on is they are side concentric, thus left and right. And so they're going to go just like this. All right, and then we're going to use part number 204. And we're going to mount them just like this. I'm going to put that through there, it goes all the way through the hole. And then on the back side, we got 205. Boom. Boom. And then we can tighten them up. They're half inch wrench. Okay? And then we're going to rinse and repeat on the other side. Okay, so now we've got another decision to make. We have two mounting positions for this table, one high and one low. Okay? If you're going to want to fold it up and not use it, or if you're going to fold it down and need it lower for cooking or workspace or whatever, put it in the low position. That's part number 215, the pin. And then you're going to want to get part number 210, which is the knob. Now, if you put it in the high position, it will fold up the same way. And maybe you want to put it in the high position because you got a cooler down here. You want to get it up out of the way. You want to have access to your cooler. Then you can put it up here either way, and it will fold up either way. And then just put your knobs in. And bam, there you go. Okay, now we got our basket. So if you were installing a RucWagon kit along with your entire install, you're going to want to stop here and refer over to the RucWagon assembly guide and take it over from there, because you're going to want to do some things there that we're not going to do here. But if you're not installing a RucWagon, you're going to want to get out part number 208. And these thread in these holes right here. These holes are actually threaded. We're going to put them in here in all four slots. And this is important. This is threading into aluminum. Do not over tighten these. They don't need to be a bunch of force put on them. They need to be good and snug, but they don't need to be over tightened. Okay, we're going to put a nut on the other side anyway, so don't crank down on them. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so now we're just going to pull that pin and flip this all the way over and put it in the gear position. Put that pin all the way through, and we're going to do that the same thing on the other side. And those 4 bolts that we just put in that basket, we're going to aim those 4 bolts at these 4 holes here and just drop it in. Okay? Now, the hole for your camera goes up here towards the tire. We're going to just drop that in, and now we're going to go get part number 209. That's the nut that goes on the bottom of this bolt, and we're going to tighten that down. Alright, so just pull your pin out, screw that on. These are lock nuts, so you're going to want to hold the top here and then tighten these down. And like I said, they don't have to, they're lock nuts, and you're screwing into aluminum on the top side. They don't need to be He-Man tight, they just need to be really good and snug. Alright, and we're going to do that back here and then on the other side. So now we're going to put our decals on, and I see, so many people out there, I send you these nice decal packs and you don't put your decal on, and it really disappoints me because it's like buying a Ferrari and taking off the prancing horse. Why would you do that? Put your Ferrari sticker on there. So we're going to peel this off, and you're going to line the space between the C and the R is dead middle. Then you got this big square one that can go down here. That's the sergeant stripes. And boom, there you go. So there's a secret to putting this basket up. The tolerances on this are really tight. So in order for this basket and this hole to hit that hole perfectly to put it in the home position, it has to be dead perpendicular, dead plumb. So I like to put my thigh on it, and usually when you put your thigh up there, it falls right in. And now you have the baddest ass rack in the world. So any piece of equipment you're going to ever have requires a little maintenance, and this will save you a little heartache if you'll keep up to these maintenance items here. So this nut right here and this screw gets a lot of action the more you use it. So tighten that up every now and then. Make sure it's good and tight, and also check on your feet every now and then. Make sure they're good and tight too. I have had so many people lose feet because they didn't tighten them down to start with, and then they didn't check them every now and then, because when you open that door so many times, there's a lot of pressure on that foot and it may get unscrewed. So tighten those up every now and then too. Okay, so let's go over some of the features and benefits here. So to lower your basket, we're going to pull your pins, and if I can get the camera woman to come around here, we're going to pull this little pin here on both sides called home. And then to get in our cargo carrier position or gear position, we're going to fold it like this and just put your pin back through the gear and do that on both sides. And if you want to put it in the bike position, boom, put the pin in both sides, and add your bike pole, bike accessory kit. Okay, and you'll see on the side of this basket here, there's 4 holes here. Well, that's for several things. You can put your Rotopax mounts here. That's for your fuel and water mounts. You can find those on Amazon or Rotopax. They make a cool product. Or you can mount your wagon kit to it. Go to the website, check out the wagon kit. It's pretty cool. And then on the outside of the basket here, you'll see holes where you can, this same pole here that we use for our flagpole or umbrella holder, it can be mounted on either side. You can order 2 of them. One comes with it, but you can order an extra one to put on the other side for 2 flags. Or you can put them out here for fishing rod holders. And then, of course, you got your bike straps here. And then you got a molly panel here. You got the 4 holes here and 4 holes inboard for your quick fist grips. That's to hold your tools, your axe or shovel or whatever you want to put up there. And then you can put this table now in 2 positions. In that position in there, and then this is the lower position, and then there's an upper position here you can put it in, so you can bring it up high or low, and will fold up either way. But I'm going to show you a little secret here. In order to put this thing back up in the home position, this thing needs to be, the tolerances are really tight on it, so it has to be straight up and down and good and plumb. And usually this is a lot lower than it is right here. But if you put your thigh on it right here, that'll usually plumb it up really good, and that pin will slide right in. And now you can ride around, and when you don't need it and you're not using it, you can still ride around and show off your pretty rack.